SoundCartel.
Feeling stuck in your job is common, too common. Not having the ability to travel or spend enough time with family is a frustration for a lot of us. But what if there was a way to work and achieve freedom and choice all at the same time? Well, we might just have the answer. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Financial autonomy. It's the dream, isn't it? Choosing when to work and being free to pursue family, hobbies or side hustles. But is it really achievable? And how can we make it happen? Paul Benson is a financial planner who for over 20 years has helped people achieve financial autonomy through a measured pathway to success. Paul has also intrinsically understood the value of diversified marketing and delivers his message as a podcaster and now author, launching his first book, Financial Autonomy, the money book that gives you choice. And it's not just rhetoric. He's done it himself. So he's drawn from his own experience for the book and that of his many clients who've achieved it for themselves as well. It is worth keeping in mind that financial autonomy is quite different to financial independence, but Paul gets to that a little later. First, he begins by telling me exactly what financial autonomy is.
Financial autonomy is an idea of having control over your finances, but particularly what your finances let you do. So the central theme we have is gaining choice. And so thinking around, well, all right, that choice might be when we want to retire, or it might be around how we want to live, how many hours a week we want to put in, whether we want to be able to take Wednesday afternoons off and have a round of golf. So financial autonomy is getting you in that position where you've got those choices.
Now, you suggest a clear framework to achieving this level of choice and freedom. What is the financial autonomy framework?
It's certainly within the financial autonomy book. It's really central. We step through it, and at each chapter and each stage we sort of have a bit of a diagram, and you are here. So we walk people through. So the starting point is around goal setting, of course. We've got to know our destination in order to be able to determine what the appropriate strategy is. So clarity around the goals, quantifying those. Then the next step is thinking about cash flow. Of course, if your expenses are higher than your income, then you've got no hope of making any progress. But let's assume that the BE Daily listeners aren't going to have that problem. So,
no, of course not.
Next step down, if there's an opportunity to, broaden the gap between income versus expenses, or outgoings versus incoming, then the broader the gap, then the greater the ability to make progress on your goals, the greater your savings capacity. And then the next step down, which is really the meat of the framework, is three different pathways. So investing in shares or stocks, investing in property, or running a business, being self-employed. So I'm a financial planner, and I've been working with clients for about 20 years. And so having a look at the clients that I see that I think have really succeeded and have really gained a choice, and then reverse engineering, well, how did they get there? How has that success happened? And my observation is that all of them have done at least one of those three pathways: investing in shares, property, or operating or owning a business. And very often it's a combination of two or even all three of those. So that's a really important element of the framework.
So can we still find financial autonomy by working for someone else, or how critical is it to be running your own business in this framework?
Oh, yeah, look, certainly, financial autonomy is achievable for people that are employees, for sure. And again, investing in shares, investing in property, there's certainly ways that you can put yourself in that position. But I guess, as I say, looking at clients that I'd worked with and looking at, well, how did they get to where they are? How did they get the choice that they've achieved? It has to be acknowledged that for many of them, it was through operating a business. And it's interesting that, and I guess I've had a bit of feedback that not many other people are picking up on that. There's a lot of books and things out there around here's share investment, here's property investment, but not a lot of reflection on the fact that, well, actually another common and viable and legitimate way to get you that financial independence, that financial freedom, is in fact to be a business owner.
Well, you refer to clients that you've had and businesses that you've seen them achieve financial autonomy in. What kind of businesses are you referring to?
Oh, look, there's really no commonality there. One of the examples I've got in the book is a client who had a business that did sort of floor polishing equipment, floor sanding equipment, that type of stuff, and very successful, sold the business and retired at 50. I've had clients at plastic injection moulding with quite a lot of staff, and then in other instances, one-man band sort of engineering consultants, these type of people that have also gained choice because they've got a bit more flexibility around their life and what jobs they take on, and I guess how finely they quote on some of the jobs, depending on how hungry they are for it. So there's no one answer there, but I guess what's common I'd suggest is getting some clarity around what they're trying to get to and what the objective is. The objective isn't just to, just run the business every day and keep the thing afloat. They've got some key goals that they're working towards. And so as they're running their business, they're thinking about the investments that they can make and the strategic moves and who they hire and these type of things with a view to, well, hey, I want to be able to exit here, or I've got this other goal that I want to achieve.
And what are some of the goals that people come to you with?
I think retirement goals are probably the most common one, whether it's an early retirement or just a retirement in your 60s somewhere. But that's a pretty common one, people thinking about what's the next phase in life. Certainly for the business owners, that's the most common one, I would suggest. More broadly, I guess sometimes it's around clients that have young children and they're thinking about, well, I don't really want to work 5 days a week and have an hour commute each way or even a half-hour commute each way to do it. That's not really going to work for the family. So sometimes it's around what sort of flexibility can we get there. Sometimes also it's people who are currently employees who are thinking that I'd like to move into that self-employment space, usually for flexibility, particularly around family, but sometimes it can be flexibility around not having to live in a city, this sort of stuff. They want to be able to live remotely, and if they could be a self-employed contractor or something, perhaps that becomes more viable. So there's a range of different choices that people are seeking, and for us it's really about getting clarity on those, and then we do some financial modelling and try and understand the different scenarios with the client, and then we can work through some strategy options.
So in trying to achieve this level of choice and freedom, does that goal come later after years of hard work, or is it something that can be weaved in early on?
Depends a lot on the goal. So, for instance, if someone's goal is perhaps to cut back to 3 days a week work while the children are young, well, there's no point putting that off down the road, is it? You've got to be able to do it in the fairly short term. So that's often an issue around cash flow management and how we can maybe get the expenses down a little bit so that if we cut the income, we can still make things balance. So it depends quite a bit on the nature of the goal. But I guess that is a really important distinction that I see between the idea of financial autonomy versus the traditional financial independence, which is a great worthwhile goal, financial independence, but technically that means you've got enough wealth that you don't need to get out of bed, right? So you've got enough shares, you've got enough property that's throwing off income to meet all your expenditure needs. Now, to achieve financial independence, that's not likely something you're going to do in your 30s and 40s, especially if you've got a family. Whereas financial autonomy is something that's achievable at that younger age point, depending on what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Now, Paul, you've just written a book called Financial Autonomy, and you are actually a great example of the financial autonomy strategy. So can you tell us a bit about your journey?
I was an employee, worked for one of the big banks for 16 years and then moved across into self-employment 15 years ago. And, the challenges of that and through the GFC and a few obstacles along the way, which I know a lot of your listeners would relate to.
Yeah.
But certainly it has given me some choice. And at the moment, my two boys are teenagers. They're in high school. So, we're not doing 6 months overseas or anything at the moment. We've got to get them through their education. But it has enabled us to take some good trips and some flexibility. It's enabled things like me knocking off early certain days to do the basketball coaching and do some of these other things. Even at one point, just with my work, the job that my wife had, I needed to knock off at 3 o'clock a couple of days a week to sort of balance the household, and that worked really well. So, yeah, I guess I've had choice to this point around being involved with the boys and be involved with the family and enjoy that phase of my life. And I guess we're looking forward now with my oldest is doing year 12. So we're light at the end of the tunnel in terms of it's a bit more freedom, in terms of family commitment. So looking forward to being able to travel a bit more post-COVID, of course, and particularly a goal we've been working towards for quite a while is to be able to live overseas for 2 to 3 months a year and operate our businesses successfully, and it's something we've been working towards. And to some extent, these COVID lockdowns have been a good test of how viable is it to not be, in the office. And it's been good, some good learnings. So look, it is something that I've certainly lived and my wife and I have experienced. Yeah, and there's plenty more to come.
Paul, any final advice for people listening that want to get off the hamster wheel and take back control of their work and their life?
Look, I think definitely start with the goals. Sit down, and if you've got a partner, sit down with your partner. It's amazing how often I chat with people, and husband and wife, and actually they haven't discussed these things, and one says, I'm looking forward to retiring to the country, and the partner sits next to them and goes, what? I've got no desire to do that. So, so if you're a member of a couple, discuss it together. But in terms of a number one thing that people can do, it is clarity around those goals, because otherwise so often people are just, my goal is to pay off the mortgage or something, which is not a terrible goal by any stretch, but I think you'd have a lot more success if you had clarity around, our goal is we want to retire to Bright or something, or, whatever, caravan around Australia or something like that. And then you could start to put some numbers around, what does that need to be? We've got to buy the caravan. How much are we going to need each year to make that viable? If you've got clarity on the goals, then you can really start to take some concrete steps and take some action. But without clarity on the goals, you're just kind of fluffing around, really.
That was Paul Benson, financial planner, author and host of the Financial Autonomy podcast. To purchase a copy of Financial Autonomy, head to financialautonomy.com.au/book. The link will also be available in the show notes of this episode. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel.